Hi, everyone, and welcome to this month's free webinar for Dharana Digital. And this month, we're focusing on, because every month we look at a different aspect of artificial technology, particularly in the space of marketing and communication, which is my wheelhouse. And so this month, we're going to focus on chatbots. So, what to look out for, how they can help you, what to avoid, those sorts of things. So, just to see, and we'll also look at some examples about how chatbots have been really effective in other people's businesses as well. So, let us begin this wild ride into chatbots. I always like to begin with a quote. And so this one is from Leonie Steiner, who she is the customer care lead at a company in the US called Alpha Pet Ventures. So it's like a big pet product company. And she said that chatbots are a great mix between fast help and personal exchange. And I think this is really a good example, a really nice definition of what chatbots can do when they work well, because often with a chatbot, people want a specific piece of information or need to be guided in a particular way. And rather than ringing up or emailing and waiting for a reply, they can get instantaneous help from an AI chatbot that's either integrated into a business's social media. So generally it's Facebook or LinkedIn and I'm sure there are other tools. I only played with a few tools, but I'm sure there are other tools that can easily go through into other social platforms as well, like X and into LinkedIn and things like that, and TikTok. However, and also websites as well. Yeah, so it's a great way to just get really instant help. And depending on how you actually create your chatbot, you can make it to be a really fun and personalized exchange through AI and the way that you set it up, making sure it emulates your brand voice. And by doing that, and we're going to talk a bit about that later on in this webinar, just things to consider when you're doing that to make it that sort of really positive customer experience. Now, I want you to think about what are some of your biggest challenges when it comes to actually integrating a chatbot into your website or social media. I know for me, it's really thinking it's just so complicated. It'll be so hard to set up. It'll be so hard to maintain. I just don't know where to start. So that's really where I have been in terms of doing that. I'm in the process now of creating one for my website, drkarensutherland.com, just to field queries around the sort of AI training and things like that I deliver that I often get through, and just to get people the information straight away. I always love people to email me, but sometimes people don't want to wait. They want the information there and then. And often it's that sort of customized information that they can't easily find on their website. And that's where a chatbot can really help. But what I want to show you in this session is there are tools that can make it easier, like accessible tools where you don't need to know like coding or those sorts of technical skills, and you're still able to build a pretty decent chatbot that's not even that expensive to build as well. There are actually some free tools, which I will show you soon. But I want you to think about the benefits of integrating an AI chatbot. So for me, and working with other businesses as well, often people some of the businesses I know, they really can't keep up with the messaging coming through, for example, Facebook Messenger and Instagram as well, depending on where your target audience is. And they can't keep up with the messages there as well as run a business and deal with people on email and those sorts of things. And that's where a chatbot can actually help. It can also help guide people through your website. And by doing that, as we'll see with some of the case studies, they've actually had really impressive results by being able to give people and guide them in that sort of real time and to give them the information that they need rather than them waiting. Because I think one of the benefits with a chatbot, often when people impulse buying, if it's a very big ticket item, they tend to plan it out a bit more. But if it's not a big ticket item, and then they might see something, some of your social media content or something like that, and they want to learn more about your product, and you can get them in a way where they're still in that mode to buy, in that action mode. And if they can get what they need to actually and break down all the barriers between them converting to be a customer and buying that product, and a chatbot can really help in doing that. So that's how they can actually help with your conversion rate, by not slowing down that process of them getting the information that they need to help to guide their purchase. Let's look at some techniques for enhancing customer engagement with chatbots. But I always like to begin with some statistics, everyone. And so here are some really impressive ones as well. So there was a survey by Uberall of 1,000 customers, and they found that 80% said that they actually had a positive experience with an AI chatbot. So that's good. And I think a lot of people are quite scared about using them because in case things go wrong. And of course, and there have been some very high profile cases where that has happened, when a chatbot or sort of, I guess it would be a chatbot. I know there was one where with one company where they had a chatbot looking after their community management in the comments on their Facebook page. And whenever anyone said the word refund or wrote the word refund in a comment, it would just generate the same response all the time. And then once people knew that, they were jumping on there writing something about a refund just to get it and play with the chatbot. And it, that everyone saw that. It was quite embarrassing for that company. So I know there are some instances where are reluctant to do it, but it can be a really positive experience if set up well, looking at all the different information that your customers might need and writing it in a way that's easy for them to understand and on par with your brand voice and aligns with your brand voice. It can be super helpful. So it can be positive. The other stat there is about increasing conversion. 15%, you think, is that really a great amount? But I think when it comes to sales, I think that is an excellent rate, an excellent increase in conversion in 15%. Yes. So that's another statistic. When using an AI chatbot, some companies have experienced that sort of increase in their conversion because, as I said, the chatbot is reducing that barrier that between someone who's keen to buy and them actually making that purchase, because they get all the information they need. And you can set up your chatbot to, if they're looking for a particular product, to link them right through to that product on your website and to make that purchase. So it just makes it super easy for them. So let's now look at some examples of chatbots and how they've helped some businesses. So I've got 3 examples here. The first example is, I think it's pronounced Meggy Help or Meggy Help, please, I'm sorry, but it's a health chatbot. And so it's a platform that healthcare companies and wellness companies are integrating into WhatsApp. And so you can see here, it's been 65% reduction in data collection time. So it's helping the business and it's helping the customers. So it's a spin-off. So the Magdalena Clinic is coming up with a lot of health innovation. So it's from that particular company, and it's a WhatsApp-based solution, but they're building it also to go through websites. And so it provides 24/7 access and to medical information. So it can do things, it can check your symptoms, it can do basic consultations, but of course it's medical stuff, so they'd have to be super careful with the information that they give. But it also allows patients to connect directly through to healthcare providers, and it can be personalized to the responses of the user. Now, I've used it hasn't been for health, but I remember I used a chatbot when my cat, well, it's not medicine, but it's close. So my cat got outside and I needed to get her to see a vet. It was like on a Sunday. So you can imagine the cost, but there was I Googled and there was a chatbot came up on a website for vet that guided me through the process of actually then connecting directly with a vet from my home through the chatbot. And I put the cat on camera and the vet actually did a consultation in my home through this chatbot. So you can see there, and that was an easy, I don't even want to tell you how much it was to do, but you can see there I needed help, I needed a service, and through the chatbot that made that process so much easier. Although I did still have to take her to the actual vet in that instance, it actually provided some support and some help. You can see how that could actually also work in a medical context. The next one is Telstra's Cody. So this is a AI-powered virtual assistant to handle customer inquiries, and they've had a really impressive result come back by the use of this chatbot. So firstly, the satisfaction rates from customers increased by 25%. Now that is significant. It really is just that increase, because I don't know about you, but if I've ever had to ring Telstra, it hasn't been great. When you end up being on the phone, God knows how many hours waiting to talk to someone, and then now you've got this little AI chatbot that can provide you with the answers that you need. And it meant that people were waiting on in general from 15 minutes to talk to someone. I think that's been quite conservative. I've had to wait much longer than that, but it just made it and reduced it to under 2 minutes, which is really great. Like, imagine just having to wait 2 minutes to get in contact with someone or get the information that you need. And it reduced call center volume, so the number of calls coming to the call center, by 40%. That is significant. And so then it meant that the people in the call center could actually focus more on the more complex calls and issues that were coming in from customers, rather than having them on hold while these more simple questions could be answered. And then another one is with Woolworths, which is an Australian company, supermarket chain, and they have a chatbot, an AI chatbot called Olive. So she looks like an olive. I know they actually do. They've now rolled it out to external websites, but for a different purpose. But this was initially for internal use. So it was for staff to actually ask questions about human resources matters and things like that. And so you can see here some of the results from that. So employee queries were resolved 60% faster, and it reduced the sort of support tickets. So you put in a call to HR and you'd have to write up a thing for them to actually follow up. So 30% reduction in those, and improved employee satisfaction and productivity. Chatbots don't only have to be used externally in organizations for external stakeholders and customers. They can also be used internally. So here is an example I would love. I would love to do this. I'm off teaching it this semester because I'm working on my AI book. But when I go back, I cannot tell you the decrease in emails I've had this semester because I'm not teaching. And it's questions like, normally during a semester, it's questions about stuff that I've already communicated it multiple times and in probably 6 different communication channels, the same messages, and people just aren't looking at it. But imagine if I could pour all of that information into a chatbot, and then the students wouldn't have to wait for me to answer them. They could just get the information they need instantaneously, and I wouldn't have to respond personally to the emails as well. But in saying that, they would be able to contact me anytime as well. That would just be an option. Yeah, so you could, just the time I know I could save by having a chatbot like that. So it's really thinking about in your business, what are you dealing with, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders? And the thing is, you're not going to, I know that people will say it's going to actually ruin that human interaction, but it's not, because you'll still have, people can still contact you, but when they just want to ask a simple question, it's just faster for them to actually go through this chatbot. But in saying that, there are some things to consider when you are thinking about using a chatbot. So use these 3 examples as inspiration as we go further into this webinar. The important considerations I think you really need to consider. If you want to use a chatbot, it has to align with your target audience's communication preferences. So you can't enforce this on your group, and it's got to be someone who's going to feel comfortable enough to interact with a chatbot. If you have more of an older demographic who may not be experienced with this sort of thing and don't even really know what it is or how to use it, you've got to really understand your audience, and you've got to understand if that's something that they would be open to using. The other thing is that you can't then just say, just use the chatbot. So you can't, that cannot be the only communication channel that you have. It has to be among your sort of marketing communication mix. It's just an option. Also, it can also has to allow contact with a human at any point during that conversation. Because sometimes, I don't know if you've had this experience, sometimes you'll have a specific question that the chatbot just cannot seem to answer, and you go around and it can be frustrating. So just having that option where people can click through and either call or they can email or just have that human step in at any time, it has to be there so people don't feel frustrated that they've had a try, but they need to actually talk to a person. The other thing is it must be tested rigorously before making it live. So having different people test it, ask it a whole range of questions, try and break it, not literally, but try and get it to ask it questions that it cannot seem to answer. So then you know where the deficiencies are and you can provide that information. So it's really about making sure that it's going to be, as I said, that positive experience before you actually let it loose on your customers and on the world. Another benefit I just remembered about chatbots is usually they can be a great way to analyze customer interactions as well. And using those conversations, you can then analyze what is important to customers, what aren't we giving them that they need, those sorts of things. And we've seen in previous webinars how you can actually use AI to analyze big data sets. Of course, you would de-identify the person in this conversation, but that's just another thing. But we'll save that discussion for another time. So let's move on to some effective methods for integrating AI chatbots. So we've already hinted about what a chatbot is, and we've all seen them. They're the things that sort of pop up on when you go to a website. Sometimes they can be annoying, but sometimes they can be helpful if you want to use it at that time and have a question. But it engages in real-time conversation. So it provides that instant support that people need and that instant information that they're looking for. And as I said, it can be on websites and social media apps and messaging apps and things like that. And why? It reduces costs because it's automating those repetitive tasks. It's taking you away from having to answer those same questions over and over and over. People can access it 24/7 as well. So generally, customer service isn't available every hour of every day. And it means that it can streamline those operations. So like we saw with the Telstra example, it allowed then the staff to actually focus on helping people who had a bit more complicated issues going on rather than their time being taken away with sort of simple questions. So now I'm going to attempt to actually have a go at building a simple chatbot. So I'm going to use a tool called Chat Fuel. And so it's a website where you can build a very simple chatbot. They give you a free trial. There are many chatbot builders out there. Some give you a free trial. Some are more complex than others. What I know is that when you pay for a chatbot, so if you're going to get it really serious and really do it and make it a really important communication tool for you, it is worth investing in it because you do get more features and you'll be able to collect better data and things like that. So I do recommend that. But just for the sake of this presentation, to give you a feel for it, we'll go in and have a look at Chatfuel's website. So let's go in there now. So it's even telling me, do you want to chat with our chatbot? And I say, I do not. Let's go in and have a look. So I've actually started a free trial. So it's just going in now. I started one the other day, but I didn't go through the whole process. So let's do that now so you can have a look. So where we'll use automation, I'll say Facebook. What do we do? Provide services. What is your role? I'll say business owner. Select the business. Look, I'll say business consulting and marketing. Scrolling down, what stage are you automating at? I'll just say ready to start in the next month. And I don't need to do that. Connect Facebook page. There we go. Let's connect Dr. Karen Sutherland. So in here, this is the main area. So you've got all these different features. So again, because I'm doing it the free trial, it is limited, but you can see here, you've got all these features here. So you've got automation, so you can choose different templates. So there's 8 for Facebook. Why don't I'll do generate leads. Why not? And so now, and you can see this is what it looks like when it, like the back end of a chatbot looks like. So it's loading that now. So I've picked a template and then I'll customize the template. So let's go activate. So you can see here, if I can't really move it around, but you can see here that it takes people, it's almost like a flow chart of what people can expect when they ask particular questions. So it's if they say this, they'll go here, they'll get this information, things like that. Apply to all posts, comments, similar. So you can give it different key and different comments, and you can see here, you can then change it to what you need. So you've got flows, and then you've got, so flows are how different parts of the conversation are locked together, the flow of the conversation. Blocks are the different little things that are said in the conversation. So you can see here, they first jump on there, and then you'll get their, you can say their first name, and then you can add a button. You can add a link. You can add your phone number, get them to call you. So all of these are customized here. You can upload images. So you can add text. So there's all these different things that you can actually add in, and keywords that you want to find. And so when they say certain keywords, then you can give a response to those certain keywords as well. So if we go back, keyword, so really that is how you would actually do it. So we'll go back in. So we've got live chat, people. You can actually gather information on people, use it, of course, ethically, and re-engage. So let's go back to our automation. So comment, and so you can see here, you'd have to go through the flow of what you want them to say. But what I really wanted to show you was just how easy it is. And then it's got this test, this flow. So you can see all of these different things that we can change, and then you can actually get it to send it their details to a Google Sheet. So then you can gather their email addresses. Down here, you can test it. So we've seen it all with different parts of this template conversation that you can change according to your needs. But let's now have a look at the testing of it. So let's just see if you can see that. Yeah, so in here, you can see here, and it says you're in call, and then it would actually call. But I'll go back, and maybe we can look at some other templates before we move on to the final section. But you can see here, it's pretty user-friendly. So here's one where you can actually get it to collect emails. So if we use this template, so it's, they see it and it's get started is the thing that pops up. And then this is the first message. So thank you for choosing us. Do you want 10% off your order? And if they say get 10% off, then it leads them to collect data. So it gets them to actually ask them to provide their email address. And if they don't, then this is what they get. If they say they don't want you, then it says not the right time, no problem. So you can, whatever they choose, you can work out the option. And then if they say yes, you can get their phone number, and it moves them through this conversation once you get it and put it onto that Google Sheet. So we'll test this flow as well and just see what it looks like. So let's say not now, and then it'll give you no problem. Let's test it again and say the other thing. Get 10% off. Great. Please enter your email. So I'll just say hello@hello.com. I'll just give this as my phone number. And then they said it doesn't look like a phone number. So I'll say 0431. I don't know whose that phone number is. And so then they give you the promo code. And so not only do you get they get the promo code, then their information has been sent off to that Google Sheet that you nominate as part of the setup. You can see here how simple it is, and you can change all of this to what you want it to be. What this does, the templates are good because it structures it for you if you're beginning to look at chatbots. And what it can happen is then you can publish it and then put it through your website or your social media or wherever it is you want it to actually go. So that's Chat Fuel. And there are many others, and I'm sure there are some that are even less complicated than this, but this isn't really very complicated compared to the fact that you don't even have to code it or anything. But what I want you to think about now, building it is fine, but you need to be strategic. You really need to be strategic when you're doing it. So it's not only about the target audience and the flow of the conversation. So you have to think about all of these different things. So the flow of the conversation when people do what you want, and then when people don't want to participate, you've got to think of all of those different scenarios. The other thing you need to think about is making sure you're following your communication strategy with your chatbot that's going to deliver real value. And so this can be about leveraging personalization, using NLP to get a better understanding of your customer needs. But in a nutshell, why you need to really do that, it doesn't have to be so complex if that all sounds like too techie for you. What it's about is using your chatbot to actually build trust and user engagement, building trust with your target audience and your customers and prospective customers. And so making sure that the interaction with the chatbot is a positive one, that people get what they need from it and they do it. It's an easy process and they want to come back and use it again. And then it has these sort of positive brand associations as well. Because if you've ever had a frustrating experience with a chatbot, it does reflect badly on that business. So you want it to be positive all the way and do it in a way that's going to really set you apart from your competitors. And you can do this through the actual design of the conversation. So we saw there how you have each of the blocks of conversation and then they flow together. So working out how that's going to work is really important, and using those templates and then customizing them to your brand. But what you also need to do is really make sure that your brand's voice is integrated into that chatbot, because it can just be poles apart and you want it to be engaging and fun. And I remember this was a long time ago, but there used to be a chatbot agency here on the Sunshine Coast, and they did great ones for campaigns where they would use campaign characters and their voice within the chatbot. So you could ask it specific things. There was even a chatbot that was used for, I think, an ABC drama program once, where the audience got to actually, it was almost like a choose your own adventure using the chatbot, which was really fun. So think about how you can make it a fun experience. You can weave in your brand's personality. So what I would like you to do is really think about what is your brand's personality and write down 3 words that describe them to shape that chatbot's voice, because that's really going to help you. Next is to make sure that the language that is used is consistent and the phrasing is consistent and aligns with your brand as well. So it's keeping that tone in sort of greetings and responses, using your catchphrases. And even if you look at, say, for example, a restaurant where you have a particular style, and even in your menu and communications, it has to carry through into the chatbot's conversation as well. So really think about, if you're not your chatbot, but your brand was a person, how would they talk and how would they speak and how would they respond to a customer? And that is what you need to use for your chatbot. And then making sure, as I said, you're incorporating those well-known expressions and taglines in there, and making sure that it's always consistent and reminds people that they're actually speaking to your brand, not an AI chatbot. Also, you can use a lot of visual elements in there. So you can use color. You can, like you saw, as I said, with the Chat Fuel one, you can include images, you can include emojis. So really think about, again, expressing your brand's personality through those visual cues in your chatbot as well. And then I'm sure that you're using particular colors on your website and different things in your social media. And so it's, again, carrying that through. And then testing and refining it for brand consistency. So the best thing to do is not just if you're going to build it and be really get going and get really fired up to build your own chatbot, get as many people to test it out as possible. Get people who work in the business as well, who know the brand inside and out, to actually look over it too and make suggestions as well about how to make it more aligned to the brand. And as I said, try and break it before you let loose and set it off free in the world, just to make sure that you've got it working really well. And so the next steps I recommend is even plot out. You could even use an AI tool like ChatGPT to help you to come up with these responses aligned to your brand voice, but you need to give the context to the AI that you're using so that it really understands your brand. And then you could give it the types of scenarios and things like that. And it could actually help you to come up with those blocks and the flow of the conversation that then you could actually bring into Chatfuel to customize those templates, or to even create your chatbot conversation as well to weave into your wherever you're using it. So I think I will wrap up now for this month. Thank you so much for watching. And just in a nutshell, remember that chatbots when they work well, they are so good at saving you time, and they can increase conversion because they break down that barrier between the customer needing the information to purchase and then making that purchase. So you can make it to be a really fun, positive brand experience as well. But you need to be strategic in how you're using it. It has to align to your target audience, and it has to really align with your brand as well. It's not just a matter of letting it loose. And I think sometimes when chatbots haven't gone so well, they haven't been tested enough. They haven't been checked to make sure that they do align with their target audience and the brand. And it's a lack of planning. So I'm not saying rush out and do it, but what I'm saying is it can be such a helpful part of your business, particularly if you can't keep up with the messages now and you can't afford to hire someone to actually do that. This could be a really helpful solution when done right. Now, if you need any help using these methods, please feel free to book in a time with me. So this QR code goes to my calendar, and you're welcome to book in a complimentary spot with me for 30 minutes just to chat about any thoughts that you have about your AI needs, and we can go through that for sure. And I'd really recommend booking in some training for next year if you have a team. I posted on LinkedIn today a shocking statistic that's come out of my own research. So I surveyed 400 people across the UK, Australia, and the US about different aspects of AI. And nearly half of them, so nearly 50%, said that fact-checking AI-generated content was only moderately important or less, which is so concerning to me. And there's a huge training gap in Australia relating to AI, and I'm sure it's similar around the world. So I think that if you really want to equip your teams and really reduce risks relating to AI, because many people are using it, but they don't understand the risks associated with it or how to use it in a really safe and effective way. So I highly recommend some training your teams. And I am now taking spots for 2025. So if you have a training calendar for next year, and I think it's really a good thing to include in that. So please reach out if that's something that you would like. And then the final AI webinar for 2024 will be on the 12th of November. And I'm going to focus and have some fun with AI video tools, because there's some I use all the time, but there's been heaps of new ones that have come out that I want to have a play with as well. So we might as well have a play with those together. And I can show you some cool things to do, and also not so expensive things to do as well with your video content using AI. So thank you very much for watching this, and I will see you next month. And feel free to contact me at any time if you have any questions relating to AI.